Welcome to our worship service at First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. My name is Magdalene Lindeberg, and I am the Celebration Associate today. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to everyone, whether you are newcomers or have attended for a long time, members of the Ithaca community, or watching from somewhere else. We are so glad you are with us today. I know I speak for many of us in saying that I had so hoped we would be able to be together in our sanctuary today on the corner of Buffalo and Aurora, experiencing that special satisfaction of shared community. I believe that day will come. In the meantime, I hope you can join us today, 12:30 to 1:30, at the small pavilion in Stewart Park to meet our interim minister, Reverend Tony Johnson, and have a bowl of ice cream for Sunday. Also, be sure to check your email, our Facebook page, and our website for more information about engaging with our church community. You can also receive weekly updates by sending an email request to office@uuithaca.org. Our service this morning has been pre-recorded, but we look forward to sharing the service broadcast on Sunday morning and seeing you at the live coffee hour that follows. Welcome, happy fall, and I hope you are well.
Beneath all curious customs and beliefs, deeper than ecclesiastical creeds, more vital and basic than priestly rites, stands one impressive fact. Man and woman touch infinity. Our home is an immensity. We live, move, and have our being in an eternity. This magnificent assertion is our greatest affirmation.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Good morning, friends. I want to take a moment with you all to acknowledge and hold the fact that we may each be feeling a lot of different and conflicting emotions this morning. I myself am filled with joy to be here with you again, starting this church year with this community of people. And I feel sorrow and disappointment that while I am with you in your homes, my face and voice projected onto your tablets, televisions, or monitors, that we are not together in the sanctuary, that we are still physically separated, so that when we come together, we can all come together. And I want to acknowledge those that are not here with us, and hold that loss with you this morning. I can imagine that you also may be experiencing some contradictory emotions. Maybe you feel excited to be returning to school or work, in classrooms or offices, virtually or in your own home. And along with that excitement, you may also feel worried about the health and safety of those you care about as more people resume in-person schooling and work, possibly for the first time in over a year. You may feel joy at seeing friends, coworkers, teachers, and other important people in your life that you have been missing, while also feeling sadness for those things that we still cannot do safely, like gathering in our classrooms here at Fuse-It, or simply being in a crowd of people. Or, like me, you're feeling hope for the coming year and the endless possibilities it can bring, as well as the grief of plans that had to be canceled and experiences that were missed. Even in these times of challenges and confusion, there are so many possibilities for light and love and care. I know that last year you had your little dated packet to open with me, and while you don't have one for today, there is one of these waiting for you to pick up at Stewart Park this afternoon between 12:30 and 1:30, along with ice cream and an important opportunity for us to gather safely in person and reconnect in beloved community with one another. So, what is this thing that I'm holding in my hand? It is a back to school or work blessing for you to carry with you throughout the year. It can be attached to your backpack, but it can also be attached to a tablet, pencil case, jacket, purse, computer bag, or whatever other object you might have that you are planning on carrying with you. This year, we will join many other UU communities as we come together today to honor all those who will be heading back to school with a blessing. And although you don't have the physical blessing in your hand, for now, you can either go get the object that you want to attach it to and hold on to that, or reach out and hold hands with those nearest to you, or simply put a hand over your heart. Today, we will bless these messages of love that have been made for each of you. They are here to remind you that through things going right and things going wrong, that no matter what, you are loved. When things are at their best and we are at our best, we can still forget that we are loved. When things are going wrong and we are not at our best, we can forget that even then we are loved. May this blessing be a constant reminder that you are loved. In these times still, many of us do not see people nearly enough. And when we do not have the physical interactions our human bodies need. The hugs, the handshakes, the worry-free physical contact. Still, you are loved. Many of us continue to be too much not alone. Our rooms and houses feel too small for the presence of so much family time. Even in this, you are loved. Many of us are feeling the complicated emotions that come from being out in the world more than we would choose to be if all the choices were our own. In this too, you are loved. Many of us are wondering what will happen next, moving from hope to fear and back again, simultaneously hoping for change and stability, wanting safety for everyone, and opportunity as well. In this too, you are loved. May this blessing be a constant reminder that you are loved. We are all a part of something larger than ourselves. Our lives connect with each other in ways we understand and ways we cannot even imagine. When we take precautions to slow the spread of a virus, we take care of people we know and people we will never meet. We do this too, out of love. When we grow our own food or use our car less often, we take care of our community and the earth that is our home. We are connected in amazing and intricate ways. You are loved. In the intricate net of all these connections, there is a love that holds us all. One of the blessings of being part of a church community is that we are reminded that we are connected to so much, to so many people, that in fact we are surrounded by love. You are loved. May these blessings remind you that you are a part of a greater UU community. May they remind you that no matter what the stress or fear, there is a path forward, a path filled with possibilities. And through that and along that path, you are loved. May this blessing bring you love that you will share with the larger world. Blessed be, and I hope to see you all soon.
Today we are gathered, a people of faith, a people of hope, a people of courage, prepared to go forth in new directions, to do the work of love and justice, and to live fully in this world. Amen. Blessed be.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. The giving information will appear on your screen in a moment during the offertory music. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of this church. The first time you give with the text link is a longer process, but after the initial information is entered, the following donations are quick and easy. So please take a moment and give through either the text option or the giving button on the homepage of the website. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
Our reading this morning is from the Iroquois creation story. And this is what the Creator did. He decided, there will be springs on the earth, and there will be brooks on the earth as well. Rivers will flow and will pass by under the earth. And there will also be ponds and lakes. They will work hand in hand the way I fashioned them on earth. and moisture will continue to fall. And it is true. Fresh water is available in abundance to us who move about on the earth. And in fact, to all those things that He provided for our contentment, free water is abundantly available too. And it is true. We have been using it up to the present time. It is the first thing we use when we arise each new time. When the new day begins, the first thing we use is water.
I included in the service this morning the reading from the Iroquois creation story for two reasons. One, because it fits quite appropriately with the water theme in our service, and two, because of the reality that we all live within cycles of nature. But we don't just live in cycles of nature, we also live in an ever-moving stream of unique history. And these come together a bit in this morning's service. 53 years and a few days ago, I was on a muddy hillside on Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York. I ran into Roger. Roger and I had become friends at Boston University, where we were both undergraduates. I had recently become involved with Unitarian Universalism, and Roger was raised Unitarian in Washington, D.C. Gazing across the mass of humanity that was the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival, Roger said to me, "This is the beginning of the tribal society of the future." I wasn't quite as sure as Roger was of that, but that didn't mean that I didn't think we were part of something special and even transformative. Woodstock was an experience suggesting that another way of life was possible. Now, Roger and I were already both active in the anti-war and civil rights movements, and we were both participants a few months later in the national moratorium to end the war in Vietnam, which brought as many people to Washington, D.C., more than 500,000, as had gone to Woodstock 3 months earlier. For me, both Woodstock and the national moratorium to end the war were and still are examples of events conducive to what the Universalist theologian Clarence Russell Skinner called social mysticism. Social mysticism, a sense of connection with, even union with other people, a connection comparable to the experience of union with the divine that is the goal of the practice of the mysticism of many religions. As events that embodied social mysticism, these two events were, for me, transformative experiences. And many individuals younger than I am experienced similar transformations through the Occupy encampments that began with Occupy Wall Street. Transformation is the work of the church. Transformation is the work of religion. The purpose of the church is to transform the world. It does this in part by transforming individuals and in part by being itself open to transformation. The purpose of the church is to transform the world. That's it in one simple sentence. Simple, but not easy. How does the church do this transformation? It does it by being the embodiment of a faith that values human beings, that values indeed all beings, and is defined by the decidedly not fluffy love that is the heart of Unitarian Universalism. In this sense, both Woodstock and the moratorium were spiritually transformative, even if neither modeled a tribal society for the future. The love that is the heart of Unitarian Universalism, particularly the Universalist side, says this: whoever you are welcome here. You are included. Whatever failings you have endured, you still have value. Whatever hurts you have received, you can heal. However great your oppression, your freedom is possible. Whatever good you have done, even if it does not seem much at the time, that good matters. And whatever evil you have done, no matter how great, forgiveness, and reconciliation are possible. In other words, in a world full of brokenness, wholeness is possible. Not necessarily easy, but possible. Transformation is possible. And transformation is the work of the Church. It is the work of our Unitarian Universalist faith. In her book, Testimony, The Power of Unitarian Universalism, the Reverend Meg Riley, minister of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, presents the words of many of our people whose lives have been transformed, whose lives have even been saved by this faith. Saved from addictions, because the person was affirmed as worthy and supported by the hard work of being in recovery. Saved from the downward spiral of loss of self-esteem and hope that so many prisoners face during long terms of incarceration. Saved from despair lurking in many circumstances other than addiction or imprisonment, where life has beaten an individual down or shattered the certainties of an individual life. Saved from a sense of being unanchored and adrift when leaving the faith of one's upbringing for something else, another faith, or perhaps no faith. Transformation is ongoing, and it is the work of the Church. No matter what a person has survived or achieved, as long as that person lives, transformation is still possible. Now, there are small moments of transformation. In worship, we seek to raise people up spiritually, intellectually, ethically, and as members of a faith community, a loving community. A particular moment may not be earth-shattering, but it makes something different. Mary Henniger Voss, a member of the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, which I previously served, spoke of loving the world in its brokenness and seeking to change the forces that cause the brokenness. This was not to me a new insight that turned my world topsy-turvy, but it encapsulated in a few words so much of what we as Unitarian Universalists do and what this and other congregations seek to do. So that I carried it with me all that week, and it came back to me today, more than a year later, as I day to day address the brokenness of the world in which I minister and the brokenness in my own life. It could be a mantra. Love the world in its brokenness. Confront the forces of brokenness. Now, rites of passage serve to give meaning to changes that happen in people's lives. Some of these changes are desired, some are not. Rites of passage, by which I mean child naming and dedication, coming of age, marriage, funeral, and memorial services. These recognize the meaning in these transitions, these life changes. Honor the sacredness they embody. Acknowledge and help shape the lives that are changed. And honor the persons, living or dead, for whom the rites are offered. These rituals are vehicles for transformation of persons and communities, the persons who are at the center and the communities of which they are part. For example, one of the most important functions of a funeral or memorial is to enable those who mourn to make sense of the new shape of their lives now that someone precious to them is no longer living. It enables those who live on to love their lives even with the physical absence of one who is a central part. That is transformation. Work for justice is transformation. Work that is to heal the broken world and oppose the forces that cause the brokenness. Just two examples from just a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe. No More Deaths, a project of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson, Arizona, where Scott Warren, the leader of No More Deaths, was threatened with arrest and a long prison term for what? For leaving food and jugs of water along desert trails used by migrants who've crossed the southern border of the United States. Hundreds of the migrants die every year in the Arizona desert. No more deaths literally saves lives, even if Border Patrol agents do their best to dump out the water and destroy the food before the migrants can find it. The Fund for Unitarian Universalist Social Responsibility has provided financial support to this transformative ministry. We March, We Act is a lay-led ministry of the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, and this group seeks to register voters among the underserved, underregistered, and underrepresented populations in the city of Harrisburg. This is work to address the fragmentation of citizens' power in the poorest neighborhoods of Pennsylvania's capital city. This can shift power, and shifting power in the right direction is transformational, even if it does not change everything all at once. Now, this is my first sermon to you, and I'm still getting to know you, but it would not surprise me if you have transformational projects as part of your lay and congregational ministry. Now, I could tell you more such things. I have some great stories, but those will have to wait for another occasion. I want to say something about the transformation of the church and transformation of our faith movement. The church is not a static institution. Unitarian Universalism is not a static faith. The Unitarian Universalist Association is not static. More than 40 years ago, same-sex couples wanted to get married. They could not do so legally. However, they could seek religious recognition, and Unitarian Universalists were among the first to answer their call. In 1983, I attended an urban ministry conference where the Reverend Frank Robertson, who is now deceased, but was then assistant minister of All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C., offered a workshop on same-sex marriage. Now, at that time, I knew same-sex couples, but up to that point, the thought of same-sex marriage had never occurred to me. I count that as the first little transformation of a series that I needed to go through. Reading Reverend Robertson's materials, I saw what was the same and what was different in the language of same-sex and heterosexual marriages. A few years later, I was asked to officiate at a same-sex wedding. These were two women, and have been doing them ever since. And the Supreme Court eventually ruled that to prohibit same-sex marriages was unconstitutional. Talk about transformation. And that I could now pronounce the couples not just partners in love and life, as I had for years, but as married. And now in much of the nation, and numerous other nations, same-sex marriage is part of life. That is a major transformation, and Unitarian Universalists were a big part of making that happen. But our church and our association transformed themselves in the process, and that too has helped to transform the world. Since then, the Unitarian Universalist Association has been going through a process of transformation to dismantle and uproot white supremacy in our movement. It will transform our liberal faith into a model, literally a beacon of the society of the future that is possible. It is already doing so within our association. A future that is possible, not tribal as my friend Roger would have it, but nonetheless more just, more inclusive, more loving and caring. The church is where we can strive to live as we want to live and believe that we would want everyone to live. I ask you to consider the question, how does the Unitarian Universalist Church in Ithaca How does this church continue to transform itself and transform the world? I know that you are doing it. I don't know you well enough to know all the ways you are doing it. And I hope that we will address during this interim period in important ways the work the church does for transformation, both for the individuals and families that constitute the membership of the church, but also what it does and can do for the transformational needs for the world outside our walls. We in the United States are now in a time when we seem to be slowly gaining ground in terms of justice and peace. Not that long ago, just a few years ago, we could feel like we were losing ground. And at that time, we could not afford to become discouraged, even though there was much that was discouraging. But it was during that time that those water bottles and food packets were first being left in the desert. People were not all discouraged. But there has been much progress. I would say more progress than not over the course of the lifetimes of those of us who are now middle-aged and older. But it has never been smooth. It has never been onward and upward forever. And of course, such things as water, which we started with talking about being so abundant and pure and unlimited, we now know can be polluted and limited and must also be cared for with great care. Yes, there have been setbacks, there have been losses. And furthermore, as much as I am an admirer of Theodore Parker and Martin Luther King Jr., I'm not convinced that the arc of the universe bends towards justice, except to the extent that we bend it. In ways small and great, ways not always evident as we work toward them. Our work as a religious people, our work as a church, the work of our faith is to transform the world. Nothing less will do. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Today, although we are separated and joined together over screens, we have nonetheless gathered together. And in doing so, we have gathered not just ourselves, but water from the four directions. And those of you who brought water home for this service, some of you brought waters from the east, where the sun rises over beaches, land, and seas, and beyond the Atlantic Ocean, other continents. Some of you brought waters from the west, where the sun sets over more plains and mountains and the Pacific Ocean. Some of you brought water from the south, where the air is warm and the seas are warm, where some places never get cold. But go far enough south from here and it does get cold. And while we had summer, people had winter. Some of you brought waters from the north, where there are plains and mountains both, where there are, even in the summer, the air is cool, and there, even farther north, there's ice all year round. Some of you have traveled long distances over the summer. Some of you have stayed close to home. But today you have gathered in this religious community. Now, some years you do travel far from home, and some years you stay close to home. Some years you see places you've never seen. But today we are gathered in this religious community. Let us treasure it always.
And it rains. written July 2021 by Michael Amon. The weather is more like June or September than high summer, and we have had rain, lots of it. Without the searing heat of July, and with the rain that just keeps coming, plant life just keeps growing. My pond is a cup of blessing, a bowl of loveliness. It is ringed with bulrushes and wild yellow irises. Reeds grow thickly and clog the outlet, greedy to keep waters from leaving their source. Rootlets sink into muck and intertwine, make a dam of vegetation, and the rains keep coming. Neighbor children come to splash at noontime if it is sunny, much like the 2 resident ducks who dabble among the marginals. Their shouts and chatter do not deter the robin nesting in the rafters of the lean-to, nor intimidate the red-winged blackbird in the willow overhanging the shore. The children visit later in the day if it is raining at lunchtime, and yes, the rains keep coming. And some days, it even rains at noon. I must be on time. I take the trail down through the pine woods to the pond just before sunset, slip into the tannin-brown water, swim without a sound in the middle of the pond in the dimming light. Surface patches like bathwater and icy up-bubbling springs that make me gasp. I must be on time to hear the first bullfrog call, "Galoth, I am here." And 5 or 6 others around the pond respond, "Gar-rar-rar-rump, so are we." I join the greetings among dandies with a whispered, "Good evening, gentlemen." A scold of blue jays erupts and screamed warnings to non-winged denizens of the pine stand. "Thief! Murderer on the prowl! Everyone beware!" Jays from across the pond join in. "We can help! We can help!" The accused may only be seeking a private drink at the pond at dusk, but the ruckus intensifies. "Seek cover! Seek cover!" The intruder, thwarted, skulks off and calm returns to the pond. I like to swim during the time of golden light. It arrives with sneaky suddenness just before the sun sets, when its rays are at their most obtuse angle. Trees to the east are washed in orange-shot silk. Answer me this. When did air and light mingle to become a visible, tangible substance? I can scoop that light into a sherbet dish or pour its apricot nectar into a glass. Then shadow snuffs out the golden light, creeping from ground to canopy in less than a minute. Blink and it's half gone. Turn away and you will miss it entirely. It never comes if it is raining and the sun is hidden by clouds while rivulets stream downhill and swell the pond. Yes, it does keep raining, and that is my favorite time to swim. Ragged clouds so heavy with moisture that they graze the treetops, propelled along by an urgent west wind, make a constantly moving backdrop. Thousands of raindrops bombard the surface and rebound in upward globular drops. Plop, 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 and my hair gets wet, leaks down into my eyes, drips off my nose, trickles into my mouth. Swimming is even more joyous, even more wet when it rains. And it rains, and water levels rise, and roots hold for now.
Our closing words are from Theodore Parker, reading number 683 in the hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Amen and blessed be.